Hi, welcome to No Dirty Whites. This is Malefe. I'm with the owner of this podcast show, Sint. Hi, Sint.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
Cool.
So yesterday we went to watch Western Province versus DP Lions. We won't be speaking about that on the podcast. We're speaking about a different topic, which I'm keen about. Sent, would you like to introduce the? Oh, it was absolute slaughter in yesterday's match. FYI. But Sent, would you like to introduce today or this week's topic?
Okay, so this week, before I introduce the topic, so I need to get with the background of the topic as quickly as I can.
Go for it.
Cool. So, watching Chasing the Sun 2, episode 2, Rossi, the South African rugby director, who's now the head coach, but then obviously was a director, he says something specific. He says, no one is bigger than the game, of rugby. This was after the players had lost against Ireland. The next morning, he tells them no one is bigger than the game. And as famous as Sia is, and he's a captain, everyone loves him, whatever it is, but obviously he's not saying this word for word. But he's also not bigger than South Africa. No one is bigger than South Africa. And he says something specific. To play for your country, it is an honor.
Yeah.
It is not, it's an honor and it's a privilege. And then something happened last week in cricket. If you remember, we spoke about, in the last episode actually, we spoke about Dale Steyn. But another topic that Dale Steyn had talked about and a lot of South African cricket fans didn't like was the fact that David Benningham was not awarded a contract by CSA.
Yeah.
And they felt that he was wronged. And then another situation that happened was recently with the women. Like, again, this was a conversation yesterday that I was part of in a way. But someone spoke about Faye Cliff, the Western Province batter, the fact that she was...
Isn't it Faye Tunnicliffe?
Tunnicliffe, yes.
Yeah.
The fact that they view she was snubbed for a contract by CSA as well in terms of getting contract for the next 12 months.
Mm-hmm.
And this came to a thought of the concept between, what was it? Honor versus entitlement.
Yeah.
It feels like a lot of our players are entitled. And fans, especially in cricket, I think rugby versus cricket.
Mm-hmm.
That's a topic.
Yeah, So the thing about entitlement, it does definitely fall under the category of the things that we've been speaking about here on No Dirty Whites. Last week we spoke about toxic winning, a toxic winning culture. And this week, and we touched on Dale Steyn and his tweet regarding Gwena Mapaga and his prior tweets being the fact that he was emotional about how a specific player wasn't selected. And in that tweet itself, it did come off as a level of entitlement South African fans have to the game and the system. And that also has toxicity aligned to it. So I think it's a good topic for the week. I think I like it. How do we expand on that?
Here's my take.
Yeah.
For anyone to play for your country, right, you're like a soldier. And yes, you want your best soldiers there. But the problem about that as well, no matter how much of a staffer soldier you are, or good upcoming soldier you are, you're never bigger than the army of the country.
Mm-hmm.
You are never bigger than your country.
But I think that the cricket I don't think they view themselves in that light. I think the level of discipline that is given within the training process of cricket doesn't associate or is in close proximity to the element of patriotism.
That's another situation. Again, I'm coming to this, where I'm also saying that any player that plays for South Africa, and I'm talking about the cricketers more specifically, it is a privilege. You are doing something that probably millions of South Africans would have loved to do, be it dead or alive, and you have the honor of representing your country. And you have the honor of representing your country. Now, other people will say, but yes, all of that, but this is a business. Be it business or not, playing for your country, for me, it is a privilege and an honor that it doesn't matter how it comes. You're not entitled, like none of these guys are entitled of the contract. Now, someone will also come up with another argument and be like, oh, well, the administrators are not doing things right. They're not serving their soldiers right. So how are the soldiers going to be motivated? It is your country.
I think maybe I feel like the reason we have a brand of entitlement in cricket, because it's definitely a brand, honestly and truly. The reason there is a brand of entitlement when it comes to cricket from fans and players is really just about the training. Like, you're not trained with the capacity to view what you're doing as contributing to the country. There's a lot of individualism in cricket. In as much as it's a team sport, there's actually a lot of individualism. People view themselves at the top of the food chain. And fans boost that notion. Fans boost that idea. The fact that we will go off on a hissy fit if a player isn't selected, and we'll start speaking about them going to the UK and things like that, as a fan or as a former cricketer, as a person who used to play cricket for the country, you yourself have no sense of duty and loyalty to your own country the moment you start speaking like that. So it's in the groundwork that was laid many years back, many years ago. I don't think we train players with the sense of this is for your country. And I think it goes back to my experiences in club cricket. I I would need a story for another day or a podcast for another day. But my experience in club cricket from an administration point of view taught me the lack of respect we all have for the badge.
That's true. Just to even touch base with that, it's every I do feel in each and every team or every now and again, like there are players that do get picked, and I feel like they should not be getting picked, and there are players that don't get picked, and I really wanted them to get picked. But at the end of the day, it is regardless of on my end, regardless of who represents the country itself or who represents the team, if I'm for that team, my role as a supporter is to have faith in the people that are there. Be it justifiable or not justifiable, it really does not matter when you are in them. Because the issue here, I do feel like people tend to, we spoke about the UK. The thing is that people start talking about the UK, and I'm going to the UK because I want to support from my family. Granted, that's valid, right? But how valid it is in terms of the sports or the country itself, and the reason I say that is because that could be also be the reason why cricket has never won a World Cup team. Rugby players, rugby has gone through whatever be transformation, whatever you want to call it, but there are 4 World Cups.
4.
2 2 won by a Black African captain,
Yeah.
back to back as well. And with Rassi
At
very
the
much
helm.
helm, with his current philosophy of country first,
Yes.
you second. And Rassi says as well, if you think you are bigger than the team, you are not playing in this. And that's where cricket has.
Needs to go to.
AB de Villiers retired early, right, and wanted to dictate how he should play. And the truth is, close to the World Cup, all of a sudden he wants to come play. As much as the business side of me would have said, hey, AB, I'm going to make AB play. But the patriotic, what was right, what CSA ended up doing, which was right, was, nah, AB, you're not going to play. Did that hurt us? Yes, it probably hurt us.
It hurt the rest of y'all. Because for me, I was fine with it.
But I'm saying in terms of the team itself.
Yeah.
But then again, how many World Cups had AB had been in? Did South Africa win any of them? No. Did South Africa even qualify? Did South Africa reach the finals? No. South Africa reached the semi-finals. And AB, I feel like when South Africa reached the semi-final, we should have probably said, okay, let me see how I can get the team to the finals without how, but
this topic really has you in a tussle, right?
it does, because people tend to use it in a political manner. And we're not talking politics. Once you play for your country, you put your politics aside and you play for the badge, you play for the country, you play for the flag, you play for the emblem, and you play for the 59 million South Africans.
Yeah.
Be it they are suffering or not suffering. But imagine what you bring in, and the legacy, the winning culture of the country. Because winning is not just, when you win, you're not just doing a winning whatever, but you're bringing smiles, you're bringing joy.
It's service.
Exactly.
And again, I'm gonna touch base on. We're not closing yet, but we should be closing it. The notion of entitlement in cricket is deep. It's skin deep. It's absolutely skin deep. And I think, again, touching back on the foundation or the groundwork of everything from a club cricket perspective. I'll always speak from a club cricket perspective because that's honestly genuinely my last 3 years of experience. I remember speaking to some players who were upset at the processes we were adopting, and I recall saying, but you're playing for the badge. If you don't respect the badge, then we're failing. We're not gonna win. And the backlash one experiences the moment they introduce things like that is outstanding. Like, I personally feel the level of entitlement is deep. Wanting to play because you feel you've earned it, not because other people think you've earned it, but because you personally feel you've earned it, is deep. The level of I from a team dynamic is big. And I think if we start to change that aspect from the ground up, where we start teaching young players, young kids, that you're playing for the country, if you make it out of your club, if you make it out of your school, you're no longer playing for yourself and your family, but you're playing for the country.
But can I also add something in that? On the players front, oh, by the way, I'm not trying to disown anyone. I know I've used AB's name in this, and I've used Dale Steyn name in this. I'm not.
No, this is a conversation. I'm sorry, but like, listen, disclaimers and all. Yes. I like that. Thank you. But honestly, it's things that are out there, yes. Right?
So now I come in on base of something specific in terms of players, right? I understand the player wanting to play. It's a human thing. They want to compete. It's like a soldier wanting to go fight there. But I feel like the key element as well is the coaches, the generals. Do you get what I'm saying? It is their point where they put a specific type of culture, be it education, or whatever it is. You know, the psyche of the players, get in there and state. You know, so I I blame them a lot. And the reason why I say that is that South Africa has actually won one World Cup, and there was the Under-19 World Cup. And
So at senior level, no World Cups.
yes, no World Cups.
At women's level,
No World Cups.
So we only have an under-19 World Cup.
Yes, we've won the Champions Trophy. We've won the Commonwealth Games in the 90s, I think. But what I'm speaking about now is the World Cup. And the reason why we won that World Cup, I think it was because the coach back then was very much like Rassie. He was an authoritarian, which is Ray Jennings.
Ray?
Ray Jennings.
Ray Jennings.
Yeah.
Was this the name you were looking for
Yes.
yesterday? Okay, got
I
it.
didn't even look for it, but it just came now.
All right.
And it was Ray Jennings. When Aiden Markram, KG was part of that under-19 World Cup winning team. And then in the next World Cup, Ray Jennings, obviously, his contract was not renewed. But that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is just a specific type of a coach. And maybe South Africans, maybe that's what we want. We talk about, let's say, our school system. I'm bringing something else, but we talk about our school system and saying that, especially in Black African schools, discipline is not there. And then we say we want that more authoritarian situation. I know a friend of mine who coaches soccer, who also tends to use a more authoritarian, as much as he's modern, but he also uses a more authoritarian when he's coaching specific type of players from
Is
the
this
class.
Nkosinathi, the
Yes.
soccer coach? Yeah.
So now I think we also need that. I do feel, whether we like it, maybe it's a part within our culture of coaching. The whole, like, it's nice to be a friend to a player, but in order for you to bring a specific type of culture to players, because players are like kids, they will take advantage. Players are like kids. A coach is a parent.
That might land you in hot water, by the way.
It's
Because
fine.
I remember as well experience
Players
a player
are like
assuming
kids.
I'm treating them like kids.
It's kind of
and I'm
like students. It's kind of like students.
Students. You see?
Students are like kids as well. Hence you have the adult, hence you have the teacher, the sensei, to put them in line. So I think that's where the term of entitlement comes in.
Because
when
we don't
you
have
put them in
authoritarian
line.
coaches.
Yes, you don't put them in line. And authoritarian doesn't necessarily mean you're shouting at the players all the time. No, I don't see Rassi doing that.
He seems very stern, but not
He's
shouty.
stern, but again, at the same time, he's also nice with the players. Hence, I'm using the word parenting.
So while you were speaking about this, I thought about a quote. I think it says familiarity builds contempt or something like that. I'll find it and just leave it on the caption itself of the video. I mean, podcast. Oh no, there we go. Familiarity breeds contempt. So there's this situation where I think that's how it goes. I think I think we have coaches in cricket that create a space of familiarity, right? Because they want to be safe with players, they want players to feel safe with them, and I think our coaches haven't perfected that stern but gentle approach, because it's required. There's that stern but gentle approach that is required, where a player needs to know that you have boundaries, right? A player needs to know that in as much as you can be familiar with them, you have boundaries, and the boundaries are the coach is here and the players here, and at the end of the day, they align to what is required by the coach, and what is required by the coach needs to be a stern situation. The word was at the tip of my tongue, but it needs to be stern and firm, as in, this is firmly what I need from all of you as players. Even if I converse with you, even if I'm buddy with you, I still need you to perform at this level, because this is what is required.
And I just need to, as we're about to close, just to say something specific, is that there is no player bigger than the team, regardless of the type of team. No player bigger than the club, no player bigger than the country. That's just my understanding, because if you look at the Indian team, for example, no matter how much of a bigger stars the guys like Kohli and Rohit Sharma and all of that, no one is ever bigger
Then the
than the
country.
country. And they make sure, even with the IPL, the teams, they make sure no one is bigger than the country, no one is bigger than the team.
Right.
So that's a one thing that maybe that needs to be put within the young people.
Yeah.
But now my last question to you, and leaving with and closing out with this question as well, is that where does it start? Does it start from the top, from the Proteas down, or does it start at school up? Because at the end of the day, if people see at high level where Proteas and former players are speaking a specific way, chances are they are going to start doing that way. But at the bottom, we have your young coaches or coaches coaching your 11-year-olds, 12-year-olds, 10-year-olds, 15-year-olds, that it starts there and goes up, so that by the time people reach the pro tiers and they're adults, it's part of their culture.
All right.
That's my living part in terms of this.
So that's your exit question.
I'm done. Thank you, guys.
That's a loaded that's a loaded exit question. So to close from my end, I definitely feel we need to work on the level of training, how we train players from the ground up. I'm not necessarily answering Saint's question, but I think you as the listener should answer that question and maybe leave a comment. But from my view, I think we need an overhaul. I'm a firm believer in overhauling everything. I'm a firm believer in restarting the clock. I'm a firm believer in purging what doesn't work. And purging what doesn't work in this case would mean even purging coaches and saying, okay, we now need to start building coaches that have that level of authoritarian leadership, but also have a gentle side. If you can't get a person with that kind of duality, or if you can't get coaches with that kind of duality, or create coaches with that kind of duality, we need a system in cricket locally where there is that type of coach, but there's also the assistant coach who's gentler, who's more about the mental health of a player, who's more focused on that well-being of a player. So, for example, taking the parent model, if we have two parents in a household, you know that one is her and you know that the other one is gentler, but they get the point across. We need that kind of system within the coaching structure where you have the coach that the players definitely know that this coach is great, but I'm scared of him or her, and because I really want to impress this coach and I need to work. But then there's the other coach where they're able to approach and speak to and say, hey, I'm not dealing well. I'm mentally, I'm not in the right place, and so on and so forth. And I think if we have a management system where we have those kinds of coaches, and then we have a mental health specialist in the team, and then we have obviously the physios and the extended version of a management team, I think we would have something great. We would have the patriotic player who understands that if I'm not selected now, let me work extra hard to prove that I need to prove that I've earned my space. And that's where I'm closing, which makes this very long.
Yeah, I like that, because at the end of the day, even with David Bellingham, if he feels like he was short done, I think he has another year. I feel like he has another year to show that he can earn that contract. Even Kyle Verreynne may feel the same way. But again, Faye as well, if she feels like she was short-handed, she has another year to showcase what she can do.
Yeah.
Have the same motivation.
Yeah.
And that's hard because that's consistency.
It is about consistency.
Yes.
So yeah, to close it off, we hope you guys are going to have a lovely weekend. This week we're not going to do 2 podcasts for No Dirty Whites. We are hoping to bring up the business of cricket podcast, so we'll see how that works. But have a lovely weekend and enjoy your cricket.